everyone, and welcome to the Postmatch show. Liverpool 3, United 0. It's always a good day. Preseason, postseason, whatever the hell. Beating United is always fun, especially in the manner that we did it. But same crew as the pre-match. John, we'll start with you because I'm sure you're freaking happy. I thought Steve Nicol is a moron, by the way, so we'll get to that. But I thought
Absolutely,
Gravenberg was excellent, actually. So what did you think of the game?
yeah. I mean, pretty much what we're hoping in terms of Gravenberg. Yeah, pretty much what we were hoping for. I'm surprised at the discipline he had, winning the ball
Yeah.
back and kind of shepherding United attackers to the appropriate angle. I mean, I don't know, like the last few games that we saw him under Klopp, we saw some improvement, but I think our perception of him was primarily skewed during that period last year where he struggled mightily. So when you look at him, you always have that period in your head. Not Gravenberg isn't good here, isn't good there. But you can see here that there is a player here that can work in this system really well and is possibly contending for that starting spot in that double pivot. Now, is he an outright starter? Probably not, but it's always great to have options. It's always great to have depth. Now, obviously, before I glaze on Gravenberg too much, because I know this is a short one, the game overall, pretty good. I love the control we had. Absolutely love the control we had. It was kind of like the United games that we had last year, but we actually applied the finishing touches and didn't panic when we were up 1-0. Didn't try to do anything stupid. Like that's exactly what we needed last year. Obviously, different circumstances. This is preseason. There's absolutely less pressure and all that, but still, as you said, Tim, it's always great to beat United in whatever context. And if you're talking about something to build on, these last two games against relatively decent opposition, not the strongest United side, it's always a feather in the cap for these players to go and look like, hey, Arnie's probably go like, hey, you know how you guys played there? This is how we should be playing. And it's good that we have these foundations to look forward to as we kind of ramp up these preparations coming into next year.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like the strongest United side. I was actually slightly disappointed that there was like too many of their young players out there. Obviously, I haven't watched any of their other preseason games, so I don't know what they trotted out before then. Shashley says, big up. Actually, Grav was better than Jones on pivot, and I could not agree more.
Yeah.
I think one thing I really liked with him, and I kind of like mentioned to you guys in Discord, by the way, if you want to join our Discord channel where we chat and talk shit throughout the game, please do so as well. But I mean, similar to what I was saying about Neoni, I just kind of liked how simple he freaking played. It's like, he was able to turn with the ball when he needed to, play the one-touch pass when he needed to. I love Jones to death, but man, he has to let go of the freaking ball. It's not a take the ball, keep the ball possession that way. It's more of a possession through movement and passing the ball. There were way too many times where he just kept the ball way too long.
It's like watching Jones a couple seasons ago.
Yeah,
It was the
exactly.
same stuff like that, same mistakes that he made prior to last season.
Why do you think that is? I mean, because I don't know if today was an exception. I think he got caught on the ball a few times last game as well.
Game before as well.
Is it like overconfidence in some ways, which has always been his downfall, but in the past that was taking on players and trying to do too much. Now it's the same thing again. He's trying to do that, like the tricky pass, the pass that nobody else saw kind of thing, as opposed to just putting in front of the guy on the left wing or whatever it might be.
I mean, it could be a new manager trying to impress right there, to go there, to put your name out there by making these runs and go there and actually try to say, this is what I have the ability to do. I mean, everybody does that when you have a new boss. I mean, you try to go there, put yourself out there in the limelight. And I think that he put himself in the limelight in this match a couple of times in the wrong way, but because of actually what you said, not going there releasing the ball when you should have released the ball and trying to go drive and do things on your own. It's kind of like what we complained about Slavoslai last season, right there, doing the same exact thing. I mean, same process right there, same thought, same thinking. You have to. And it's all again. Jones is a young player. I mean, he's still young. You think about that. Think about he's been kind of teetering around the first team for quite a few years now. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
He's still young. I mean, he's 23 years old. I mean, you still have like about he still has another 4 more years till he gets some maturity as a footballer. So I mean, these are mistakes that he'll learn. I mean, so
Are there mistakes that you'll still? Because that's why I was like, like look at Neoni, right? You can't teach some of that shit. To be able to kind of look over your shoulder and know where the pass is, you can't teach some of that stuff. Can you learn that as he goes?
Yes, because Gerard did the same shit to back when he came back.
I
In
guess
like,
that's true.
I
Yeah.
mean, he did the same exact mess right there when Jed came there, gave him that starting that position right there. He came there, drove the ball. He was a hothead. I mean, there's so many things that Stevie G did during the beginning part of when he got on the pitch about 98, 99, something like that when he first made his appearances that were frustrating us, very very frustrating. And so I think that Joe's is going to learn it because Joe's a very similar type of player as Stevie was, as far as being very forward and having and very wanting to drive the ball into that last third. So I think Jones can learn it. I think that there's a lot of promise with Jones. It's just go there and having the right management to go there to tone him down.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's just a matter of just like calm down, just do your thing. I mean, which is I thought he kind of made that. Maybe I'm kind of disappointed because I felt he made that step up last year compared to the old Jones who tried to take people on and be fancy and stuff. I thought he made that step last year where he was playing simpler and doing what's needed as opposed to what's fancy. I just almost feel like the last couple of games watching him has been like a step back. Any other positives, John, apart from your boy Gravenberg that you saw out there?
I thought Jota looked sharper. I thought he led the line much better than he did last year. I mean, not last year, last game. Sorry, still caught up on last season. But I feel like it's absolutely no question because it's less than 2 weeks before the season starts. We have to start Jota at the 9 because he's evolved into an all-around baller. He isn't just the scorer that he once was. He's a pretty good all-around player now. And I feel like if he stays healthy, I feel like he starts at the 9 over Darwin, because obviously he has the injury-prone issues, but in terms of the intelligence, the knowing where to be, leading the line, leading the press, I think we have no better player to play that 9. So I'm impressed to see him now kind of, ramp up on his fitness. He should have scored there on that goal where Costa scored. It was a very weak shot, but then the fact that he was in that position and the fact that he was there to kind of confuse the United defense when Salah put that cross in for Jones to tap on is just classic Jota. Sometimes he doesn't score, but his movement and everything sort of like echoes of Bobby, I dare say. Like they are not the same player, but you can see that he's learned from him playing in that false 9 under Klopp, like where to be to kind of disrupt the player. So yeah, Jota impressed me. Obviously Salah, Connor Bradley, more of the same, right? I said in the pre-match, best of both worlds, attacking, defending. He stepped up when he needed to go one-on-one against Rashford, and whenever he needed to overlap, provide an option for Salah, he was there. So, listen, we're going to have some really interesting conversations when Trent comes back, because at this form, if this was mid-season, or if this was to start the season, let's say these last 3 games were to start the season, right, and Trent was coming from an injury or so forth, you don't drop Bradley. It's just an injustice. You do not drop him. So there will be some interesting conversations, I would say.
Yeah, we only made like 9 minutes this time before the trends to midfield. It could be a new record. It was 6 minutes.
I'm not saying he's going to go to midfield, though, Tim. I mean, like, he's probably going to be coming off the bench for right back. Probably because
I don't think you do that though. I just don't know.
You don't. But then, isn't it unfair to Bradley? You think?
I don't know. That's kind of like when you brought Alisson back, right? I think some of the things were like, you know what, your seat is here. I'm just keeping it warm for you. It's kind of like how I look at that for certain play. Like Van Dijk comes in, doesn't matter how well the guy in space of Van Dijk is playing. Van Dijk comes in and says, "Thanks for keeping."
So you would bring back Trent.
Right, I would bring back Trent. I mean, there are times, I guess, as I watch these games, I'm trying to watch them putting, the starters in there. Like, if that ball goes to kind of a thing. And, like, there are times where that's why I was like, in mid-game, I was like, man, Mac will feast in this midfield, in these tight spaces when he can turn around, because he will play that right ball, and he's not going to hang on to the ball too much. Like, he's a mature and more experienced Neoni, if you will. He's going to play it fast. He's going to turn around, take the space, and play in tight spaces. But I put, if Diaz was on the left hand side, Carvalho is like an interesting one. Let me throw that one at you there,
Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah.
He scores another goal. I really thought he was a lot better in terms of the lack of, there's less pouting, there is less like complaining, and there was a lot more off the ball working defensively, making runs offensively and stuff like that. Do you think he's trying to reserve himself a spot, or is Edwards watching this and saying, "Oh, another goal that just bumped it up another million"?
Well, it's like I was saying on the Discord channel with it. I think that you saw right there. I think that he is definitely trying to go get himself a spot in this side right there. I mean, it's the best of both worlds. If he, I think John commented on what I said right there on that. I think that if he goes there and gets that starting position, great. But but if not. That's extra cash in the coffers that we're going to get off of him. But I do think he's a pretty tidy player, and I think that he would work out. I want to kind of feed off what John was saying about Jota. Man, vintage Bobby Firmino would be so incredible in this type of lineup that
Yes.
Slot has
Mhm.
because the work rate right there is suits him perfectly. Because if you look at Jota was back almost about 3/4 of the pitch at one point, stuff that Bobby did back in like 2018, 2019. I mean, so it's like wow, this is like a Bobby type of formation, but. I think that Carvalho right there has promise, but if we keep him, great. I just don't think that Carvalho is is a starter in this lineup.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I mean, it's like, what do you do with him right there? Because I think he's a talented kid right there, but is he willing to go on loan again right there and for another season to see what we get go to like a different trial, a different type of like a system right there to see where we get with him, but. I just don't see him going there being a starter. I don't see him above
If
anybody that
he's
we
not a
have.
starter, right? Like, let's say he's not a starter, but he's in a squad. I guess that's what makes it tricky for me to put him in the squad somehow.
Mhm.
Is I don't know whose backup he would be. Is he Diaz's backup? Not really, because
No,
you're still gonna have Gakpo. You can shift Nunez to the left and stuff like that. Is he gonna be like Elliot's backup?
he probably be Elliott's backup in my opinion. I mean, just because of his pass rate and the way he turns. I think he's very similar to with Elliott with that. I mean, especially with pace, because I don't think that he has a lot of pace. As kind of like how Elliott doesn't have a bunch of pace. He's more a tactician, more thinking process. So yeah, I would say probably an Elliott. I mean, that's the only person he could go on the pitch with right there. But I mean, again, you still have Bobby Clark right there that's still in the mix. I mean, you still have other people who are in the mix that do that same type of work rate. So that's why I don't know what to do with him. I mean, I said like on Thursday, our midfield is so packed right now between kids and starters that we have to make movement somewhere in there. We have to either sell or send some people out on loan because I don't think I don't think we're not right in that part of the pitch.
Yeah, Justin, that's a good point, by the way. So, speaking of people, because I mean, we were talking about this with Kazi on Friday's morning show, that, on the way back now, as they fly back, I mean, I can see some people being thrown off the plane with a parachute and saying, "Hey, this is your stop right here. We sold you, by the way," kind of thing. Because some of these people were there to just be able to play these games and stuff. Does this make, seeing what Jaros was doing, we always talked about, um, John, like signing somebody experienced, more like an Adrian type to replace Adrian if Keller is gone. Does this make Keller even more expendable and shoppable, seeing what we have?
Well, I I wouldn't jump on that train yet. See, obviously it's conflicting with how I analyzed Bradley, but Bradley's run of form last year, I mentioned that this is a continuation. His good run of form now is a continuation of the purple patch that he had last year. So we have a sample size to kind of continue off of Bradley as compared to Jaros, where you could make the argument that Sparky mentioned here that it's just a friendly, it could be
Yeah.
just a one-off, right? I'm not super convinced yet. I mean, he probably is a decent goalkeeper coming up from the John Octoberg school of goalies, there with Adrian and Allison and stuff like that, who come up pretty solid, as you could say, Kelleher. But then I wouldn't be so gung ho to sell Kelleher yet if there is not a good deal. Like obviously
What's a good deal? Name me a price. Name me a price, you're my man.
25.
Oh, that's easy.
right, easy sell for me, Brian. 45, absolutely all day.
No, 25, he said, right?
Oh, 25?
25.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think-
I'd say 25 to 30, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I think that goes without saying, doesn't it? I mean, I don't even think we laugh.
He's
It's
too good.
probably
He's too
somebody
good to
says
be.
10, 15.
He's too good to be a backup keeper. He's way
Right.
too good to be a backup keeper. And, I think that 25 is a very reasonable rate. If we could go get him as a loan to buy back, would even be better right there. Because, I mean, I think that when Allison does come with their go back, I think that Kelleher is a natural replacement. But, I mean, as far as our keepers go, okay, so we have Jaro, so we also have Penagula right behind
Yeah.
him right there that could actually go there, still cover, and Alice is like really, really really excited about Penagula. So I mean, I would rather have a sell with the option to buy back with Kelleher. So that, I mean, I'd sell it for 15 if we have an option to buy back, or a 40% to 50% sell on thing. And Edwards is going to look at these deals right there and say, "Hey, how could I go out there and get the best out of the situation?"
Yeah.
I mean, because I think that Kelleher does have a Liverpool future. I just don't think it's now.
Would you guys sell Kelleher if we put the money to an Anthony Gordon or a defensive midfielder?
Yes. Yes.
Wait, what's the question again?
Would you guys sell Kelleher if we put the money on an Anthony Gordon or a backup defensive midfielder?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't think we need to sell to buy. I'm not like, I don't buy that. This money was there for Casiero last year, right? The money is there. They did smart business over the last 2-3 seasons. The money is there. I mean, Wilson says, aside from FSG being great, I think it's better to be calm and look for the right players in the market than to rush like what Ten Hag did. And I think that's the thing. I think the money is there. It's just a matter of, getting the right guy. And if you're going to pay top price, make sure it's the right guy. I think we have some players that I don't know Edwards would have bought, for example, Nunez and stuff. I'm not sure like if that would be in the works or in the conversation or whatever. But and here's another thing, like everybody's selling DM. I know like Sider's already getting a DM, but I really think the more I watch this team, we are not looking for what everybody else is looking for as fans, like a number 6, like a Fabinho, Endo, but top notch. I don't think that's the guy we're looking for. We're looking for another Mecca, Gravenberg, that kind of player over there. That's good on the ball, that can, like technical, can turn with the ball, play in tight spaces, and obviously win wall. I mean, there is certainly that money is real, Saidu, because we made an offer.
We offered.
We made an offer. That was not a fake rumor news. We made the offer. They, he ended up going to Chelsea, blah, 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 because the agent got involved over there. And I don't know, maybe it turned out for the weather. But honestly, like, he would fit as the number 6. We need a player like that, not just somebody who's gonna put in some rough tackles. Like, you can't have like Milner playing there, for example. You don't need somebody just gonna go in. I mean, you see Endo coming in, and he did not play bad today or anything, but you just watch him and be like, nope, this is not the same guy. What did you guys think of Bajcetic real quick? Because he played in that role. What did you guys make of him?
Well, we didn't concede. He didn't necessarily lead to any chance where, kind of like Caicedo's pass to Haaland a while ago at the Chelsea-Man City game. None of those, right? So he did bare minimum. Obviously, we need to see more with him. He's missed quite a bit of time since he was thrown into the fire literally by Klopp 2 years ago. He's a decent option to have, but then I don't think you would be seeing him in any first team sheets anytime soon. Maybe at best features in the cups. Probably that's as far as he goes.
Yeah, I agree with John. I totally. I mean, I didn't really see anything much out of him. I mean, I saw a couple good plays that he, I'm breaking down play that he had and stuff like that. But I don't. Again, he's another player right there. I just don't see surpassing in that position at the moment, because I really think that we're going to wind up having. I know I'll repeat the process again. I think we're going to have Trent somewhere in that double pivot. And I think it's either be Gravenberg on there, or it's going to be Endo, or it's going to be somebody else right there who's be more defensive minded right there, because Trent is not that person. And so I don't think that Bajatic is actually have a starting position. I think that Bajatic right there is going to be on the cusp, but I don't think he's there. I think, and with him, I don't know. I mean, it's like I just don't think that I think that's a lot of that injury he had is a hard injury to come off of, and I think that we have to give him time. And I mean, Morton is right behind Bajcetic. So I mean, again, what do we do? It's again, I go back to the same story I said earlier. Our midfield is way too packed. We have too many midfielders right now that we have to figure out what exactly we're going to do, because we have to get rid of people. We really have to get rid of people pretty quick.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna make this a part of our freaking fundraiser. Every time somebody says Trent should be in midfield, they're gonna have to fucking donate to this fundraiser. I mean, like, every time it's gonna be like that curse jar. I'm like, if you say Trent midfield, you're gonna put $5 in.
It's like the opposite of it's like the opposite of the special. Like the special is welcome, but Trent to midfield, nah, no. You know that Drake meme, Tim, where it's like he's like that for Timuchin special, and then he's like that for Trent to midfield. Where's Matoush, man? He can make that meme. You should tell Matoush on the Monday morning show.
Speaking of the fundraiser, by the way, we are going full force. There's a couple of supporter clubs already in as sponsors, so we are doing the 24-hour podcast, 24 hours straight. Me, Bickler, Galley, 24 hours nonstop, going all the way through. So you can sponsor those hours. The silent auction is going to be live starting tomorrow. So we'll get those links out there. And the GoFundMe is going to be ready to go. All of them are going to the Carragher Foundation. Actually, I do have a video from Carragher too that I can probably throw on here. But hey, one thing that we agree with Saidu is Bajcetic is not ready to be a starter yet.
Yes.
But something to disagree with Saidu. We are not playing a 4-2-4. We're playing a 4-2-3-1, even though if you ask Slot, he will shun you at a press conference. But we are playing a 4-2-3-1, and which kind of like keeps shifting. Those midfielders shift, and I don't think it's a matter of Maka and Gravy not being good defensively. I think we agree that Maka is good defensively. Everybody just wanted him playing a bit more up front, which is why nobody wanted them at 6. I think with another partner at 6, and I'm telling you, man, after watching today, bear in mind, this dude just came over there. This is his first game. I was actually shocked that he played like 60.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like, man, this could actually work, because I like how we played it today. Will that be consistent? I guess we'll see. But the biggest negative you saw today, John.
Konate.
Oh yeah, I guess that was.
That's the low hanging fruit, but we can't really ignore it, though, can we?
Yeah.
It's the lowest hanging fruit, but we can't ignore it. I think Anon, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, who mentioned in the Discord that at this point you have Vandenberg over Konate. Like, obviously, if we're talking about defenders, in terms of who's a better player, Konate all day long. But in terms of who is a better fit, who can play out better from the back, who has better composure with Arnie's style of play, which is definitely ball to ground, slick passing. If we're going by this game, Konate does not look like a good fit. And to be fair, he was never the best on the ball, even under Klopp.
But let me tell you this. So now that you said that, and I do agree. Go ahead, finish. And
I was just gonna say, like, it's an absolute shame that Matip's body broke down, because he'd be chef's kiss here.
Yes. I couldn't agree more. But here's the thing: I felt like with Konate, similar to Gravenberg, you just got here. Instead of like what maybe that's I'm afraid of with Gravenberg. Like, he just got here, so he's like, I'm just gonna play simple, quick balls, win, turn, give it away. Just play simple. I don't know. In 2 weeks, he's gonna become Curtis Jones out there and hang on to the ball. With Konate, like, I mean, we're saying like Anam was saying Sepp over Konate right now. If you notice with Sepp, he is not taking those chances. He is just playing it safe. He might give it back to the goalie. He might give it back, like go to the left wing and stuff. He's not taking those chances. I think John was saying in the pre-match, you kind of expect some of these guys to be a little bit rusty. You were saying it for Gravenberg, right? Like, might have a few touches and stuff. I don't understand, Brian, the overconfidence Konate has. And then he's like, his first game back is like, let me see if I can thread this ball down between 4 guys in the middle of the pitch.
It's more the same. It's more the same right there with Konate. I mean, again, right there. Okay, so we did a preseason. He played this preseason match. He probably wouldn't play against Sevilla because he can't go there and get a string of matches fit. So I mean, even in preseason. So I mean, but again, it's the same thing when you watched him right there play right there. Okay, so Verge. I watched a couple of matches after you had Verge was actually making runs up. Konate was making runs up. They were failing to communicate right there. Where Konate was supposed to stay back when Verge was making runs. It was just a mess right there. It's almost like there's like things that he doesn't quite learn. And so that's my confusion with him right there. With him, it's like, okay, it's basics. It's basics. I mean, the game's pretty simple right there, especially as a defender right there. I mean, with how you make your runs. I was really confused that he went over to the left side. I figured that we would have Kwanzaa, like I said in pre-match.
Yeah,
that Kwanzaa would have stayed on the left right there, and Konate would have been more natural on his right. Maybe that could have been part of it right there. His pitch placement. I mean, and so more used to actually playing besides Bradley and seeing that side right there. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just going to give it the benefit of doubt right there that this is his first match back, but I did see some very troubling things. My only other negative I had right there, which is something that's not really, really super negative, but I think that Ben Doak really needs to learn that with the last touch on the ball. I mean, it's like he does everything right until he gets right to the end. Yeah. And but I mean, he's a kid; he's only 18. But I mean, but just how many plaudits that he has coming into the side right there to not have that last touch is something he really needs to focus on. Again, he's a kid, so I'm not going to really focus really hard on it. But I hope that we have the right people in place in the academy and first team to get him to cross that line.
One thing I mean, the more I watch Van Dijk, I think I'm on the let's loan him camp.
Yes, absolutely.
Sitting behind,
second division. He's going to second division.
Behind Mo and coming in for 5 minutes and stuff like that. Just let's loan him to. I was going to say championship really because I think he can play that. Maybe he'll get stronger there. I mean, because he has to be challenged at the same time. Konate is good if opposition plays big.
I remember Scamacca cooking him though.
Yes, I was going to say the same example actually that Atalanta game. It was a rarity though. I know what Sparky is saying in the past. Yeah. We were able to put him on their big man because usually, that's who they if they have a big man, he's always going to play opposite where Van Dijk is for those balls. So whoever played, when Gomez was there, he was the target. Whoever played there was the target. And Konate did well, but yeah, that game comes to mind. But seeing Konate on left, John, does that almost signal, like we were talking about earlier, when like Van Dijk comes into a game, he just goes where he plays and he says, you go to the other side, dude. This is my side over here.
Right.
So I almost felt like when I saw that lineup, because before the game, Brian was talking about Kwanzaa playing on the left because we kind of assumed Konate would be like, hey, man, this is my slot over here. You shift to the left. Did we just see Kwanzaa saying, this is my spot here, dude. I'm the starting right center back. You play on the left.
I never thought of it that way, but that just kind of puts it in a light how Kwanzaa has just dominated that position over the last few months. And you could make an argument that ever since Konate got cooked by Scamacca, he hasn't been the same.
Yeah,
he's been dropped, and he hasn't looked quite the player that we need, especially now that we have a manager who emphasizes ball progression and composure more. It's looking harder and harder for Ibu to nail down that permanent partnership with Big Verge. He's still a talented center back, and I wouldn't be surprised that in a matter of months he's first choice again. Like, I would definitely not be surprised. But if you're going to ask me to name a starting 11 that we will field against Ipswich, Konate is nowhere near.
Nope.
Yeah,
nowhere near.
I think so as well. But by the way, let's touch on this before we go. I'm sure we had a lot of people actually from American Scouts who were at the game. Polish Prince was there, which he probably landed with a helicopter on the pad next to it and stuff. So he probably didn't have he wasn't in one of those cars lined up.
That raid probably really messed his hair product up right there.
I hope he was wearing a cap or something.
I know Laurel was there from American Scouser as well, and Jamie, who's like like a regular, like people, one of the OGs. People remember. I know he was there. Are you guys shocked? I'm not shocked at the fact that parking is a bitch at an American sporting event. I'm just shocked that people are shocked that parking is a bitch at an American sports event and trying to drive over there like half an hour before the game.
It's South Carolina. That's all. That's all I can say. It's South Carolina. I mean, if you've ever been to South Carolina, you understand right there. And it's like I said it, and I said right there in Discord. I don't understand why a match was in Columbia when you had a perfect venue and a perfect already vetted out area in Charlotte that works perfect. Because I've had every match I've been to Charlotte has been executed perfectly right there.
Mhm.
It's an hour away. This is a brand. I know they did a lot of that. I mean, the listeners, freaking announcers on ESPN about drove my head in, but they talked about that there's so many things like they were like, okay, well, there's so many things that they try to do to make sure we have this happen in Columbia and stuff like that. Columbia is not a really big city. It's not. Is
it because they're more used to? I mean, I'm sure the stadium. It's a college stadium.
It's an SEC football stadium. That's all.
Like
I mean,
taking 1,000 cars to a college game.
No.
Everybody's tailgating, blah blah blah. So
Exactly.
was that the confusion? But
yes,
like, are these people tourists? I mean, I'm sure I'm going to get cussed out by people who missed most of the game because they were in the car. But like,
yeah.
I mean, come on, man. Like, have you never been to a sporting events in the U.S.?
Right.
But again, I can say right there, it's South Carolina. I'll emphasize that right there. I mean, you had Atlanta, not that like an hour and a half, probably about 2 hours away, and you also had on the other side you had Charlotte an hour away. It's just a weird place to go there put a match at. It's kind of like how when City came there played in Chapel Hill. Weird spot to really play. I know the Tri-City area.
They like a college stadium.
Yeah, I mean, Tri-City areas is a pretty good spot between Raleigh and Durham and stuff like that. But there's nothing in Columbia. There really is nothing. I mean, you have Columbia, and then you have nothingness until you get about an hour away, and then either way you do, it's not a good spot. I mean,
I know they played in South Bend, which there's nothing in South Bend except Notre Dame. But it worked out fine. But I didn't drive to the game because I know better. So I mean that was like part of like the biggest part. But yeah,
also zero public transportation. There's zero public transportation
to America, isn't it?
Well, true. I mean, but Charlotte does have public transportation to an extent. I mean, so
I know they were supposed to have like these shuttles and stuff like that, but I mean, it just looked like a big mess. And I know, what you even said, it like the stadium looks kind of empty. We realized afterwards why it's empty. I don't know if everybody, we were watching with Angel, and just like maybe people thought they saw the weather, they're like, oh, it's going to be delayed, and they were coming into the game late, and it didn't get delayed what. But yeah, I feel bad for the people. I'm sure I'm going to get cussed out. But if you want to cuss me out, I'll be on for 24 hours from August 10th through August 11th. So you can go straight 24 hours of cussing me out. Do join us then. But no morning show this Monday because the prince is visiting other princes and kings and stuff. He's out there and about. So no morning show, but do tune in to a lot of announcements coming up over the next 2 days for this fundraiser and the 24-hour podathon. We got a lot going on over here. So we'll post a lot about those. Any parting thoughts? We'll start with you, John. What did you make overall? What did we learn from this USA trip?
I guess we got an insight as to how he wants to play. And if it works, it looks absolutely excellent. It looks like a style that is... It's too early. It's absolutely too early. But if he manages to get everyone on the same page, I would dare say that this style is more sustainable than Klopp's style ever was. In terms of keeping the shape, in terms of keeping the ball, tiring opponents out to death. It's basically a Pep Guardiola system, right? An offshoot, but still the fundamentals are there. And in terms of preserving your players, this might be more ideal in terms of especially us who've been fed up with key players going down with injuries over the last few years. So it's obviously just preseason. The real thing's about to come up real soon, but it could have gone way worse, and I'm happy. I'm just happy.
Yeah. Brian.
I'm gonna second John on a lot of this stuff right there. I think that
That's the first.
Yeah.
Not a
I
lot
should
of
get on the
people
Thursday
second John a
podcast
minute
more
ago.
often. I should get on the Thursday podcast, man.
Hey, Gravenberg is great. Gravenberg is great. Gravenberg is great.
It's the first time someone said Gravenberg is great more than once, Brian. Like, it's always like a passing remark. Oh, Gravenberg was good, and then it's like no one just repeats it, just out of
Yeah, John got lightheaded when people were
So-
commenting there.
Yeah, so so again, like what Sparky just said right there a few seconds ago, no injuries, great. That's the biggest positive. But I do think that we can see the role of the keeper is totally different also, and I've noticed that right there was a lot more possession based also in the back third, and so which is something that it was totally different from what we did with Klopp, where it was more of a get the ball release. I mean, I think that we are playing with the ball more. The things that we were scared that Allison did last season right there and the season before, that I think that those are things that he's going to have to work on to be successful. I think that, again, I've said that mini press that we're doing is so fantastic. I really enjoy it. I think that we are basically putting people on their edge right there on that last half of the pitch. And I look forward to seeing how we do this with McAllister, because I think McAllister is gonna dominate with the way this does, because he's such a tiny player, and I think that we're good. But I know that Sparky said earlier right there. I think we may not go get any signings in this summer. I think we may have outs and then wait till January to get signings. I think that we were to see where we're at in January, but I think we had a pretty decent squad to fit with slot system. I think that again, if there's anything we're missing right there, would be like another left back or defensive, or if Gomez goes, somebody to take his spot right there. But other than that, I think we got a pretty good squad.
Before you go, Tim, just piggybacking off of Brian's point there, if we are going to get someone, it's going to be a Gravenberg signing all over again. So will this guy even feature as much as we want if we are going to get someone? Probably not.
Yeah. No.
So, right?
See, I think that's different, though, because Gravenberg
so?
came into a club system that was there for 6-7 years.
But
the
then
guy he's gonna bring in, and not to mention, Klopp was Fabinho came in and didn't play for 6 months. Whereas I think if Slot brings in somebody, it's gonna be somebody that he knows gonna fit that system, and I would say we see him in like 3 to 4 weeks.
Probably, but then I still feel like the lack of training camp and all that kind of catches up with the player eventually. I just feel like it's gonna be that.
How is that different than Gravenberg? He's only been there like a week.
Sorry? I think it's.
How is that different than your boy Gravenberg, for example? He's been there like a week. So if a guy comes in 4 days, he's 10 days behind Gravenberg.
That is fair. That is fair.
I mean, I think we're going to have a like-for-like transfers. I mean, if we do any transfers, right, there are upgrades. I mean, I still think that Diaz may be gone. I said that earlier this the Thursday podcast, right before the season ended, like about the time the season ended. I think that Diaz doesn't fit the system. So, I mean, I think there's players right there that he's going to look at and say, hey,
really?
Well, where can I play this player at? Because I think that Gapco is better in that spot than I think that Diaz is, and so I think that's why I think that Diaz his head's already been turned into Barcelona if they can afford like a bag of crisp. I mean, right there. I mean, but I mean, it's like, but I think that Diaz is ready to start fresh, and I think that we may move him on. Endo possibly move on, but again, it's going to be if we do move players right there who are our last year's starting 11. We're going to probably wind up putting an upgrade in that spot right there. But I don't think we're going to do any like dynamic signings. I think the Gordon stuff like that. I don't think it's going to happen as long as Mo's here. I don't think we're going to go after Gordon. I can see Gordon come there and maybe taking his time down at Newcastle, not signing a new deal, and maybe going in for Gordon next year when Mo leaves. Something like that right there. But I think that there's a lot of rumors out there, that little rumor mill that we have through there. So again, I think we may have a pretty quiet like buying
I think
season.
the opposite. I think starting tomorrow, things are gonna go ape shit.
I think
With
we're sell. I think we're sell and
outgoings and
load.
stuff like that. I think there's gonna. But I mean, I do agree with Sparky. The no injuries thing is definitely a huge bonus. Because I mean, you see like what United is going through and stuff like that. So that's definitely a huge bonus. So at least when you get the new guys in, you're only adding in. I mean, I like this so far because we are looking for it because there's a change. But like John says, I think you can visually very easily see what has changed. And if we had a preseason when we were like, so how is this going to be any different? So it's the same old, but we can visually clearly see a change, different patterns of play and stuff like that. And to have that established pretty darn decent so fast is impressive, knowing we had the Euro and stuff like that. But I really do think, and honestly, like I know what you guys are saying about Diaz and Gakpo, and I think both fit in different ways. But I look at today's game, some of those long balls like Van Dijk got today, and Carvalho got and stuff like that. I mean, I'm thinking, man, if that's Diaz going 1v1 against the freaking defender, I would not want to be that defender. I don't want Diaz coming at me and there's nobody else by me, no center back to cover me. And same thing on the right hand side. I was kind of disappointed that Mo couldn't get past the kids a lot more frequently. I think that's a concern. But then again, Gakpo's interplay, is a lot better, so that can help. But I really think, like, I look at this and I'm like, man, Diaz would feast in this. And I think same for Nunez over the top too, as long as he stays on. But that's another challenge.
That's an entire show.
Hey, Nunez is Thursday night's property on that.
Yeah,
right
sorry,
there,
we'll just leave that to you guys. But again, no show on Monday, but huge announcements coming up tomorrow. Jamie's video, we'll release that tomorrow as well. And then Monday nights, I'll be back with Gally. I think Bickler is still traveling about, or I think he just went in a camp to be able to handle the 24-hour pod that he's not telling us. But either way, I'll be back live Monday nights, and we'll see you guys then. Thanks a lot, everybody, and have a great rest of your weekend. Beating United is always good. Take care.